I am dedicating this video to feature the many examples I have found of symmetry, proportion, and alignment around the world through archways and openings of not only architecture, but what are called natural features as well. My name is Michelle Gibson. Framing in photography refers to using elements of a scene to create a frame with your frame. So here's an example of using tree branches to perfectly frame the moon in a photograph. You also see the technique of framing in the capturing of the eagle in between the opening here. What I'm going to be talking about in this video, however, is what else you see here through the opening in this photograph. I will give you many examples of this framing effect around the world that would not occur without the existence of a perfect intentional alignment in the first place. I will be talking about what are called natural features as well as architecture. I am going to start where I first learned of amazing man-made alignments in the landscape, in this case the Avebury complex in southern England. A deep interest in learning more about ancient sacred sites and megaliths is what initially drew me into this whole subject. I was able to visit Avebury on a trip to England in 2010, but didn't get to spend much time there. I had a travel mate who wasn't into the same things I was. I watched many presentations from megalithomania conferences, and these provided a lot of background information from other researchers that helped me get to this level of understanding about the subjects I am sharing with you in my videos. I saw this presentation by Peter Knight for the Glastonbury Megalithomania Conference in 2011, several years before I started putting all of this together in 2016. From watching it, I gained an important piece of the puzzle, well before I really understood what it meant. In Peter Knight's presentation, his focus was primarily on the West Kennet Long Barrow in the Avebury complex, which is a greater sacred landscape that is precise and intricate. He talks about sight lines in his presentation, which refers to a normally unobstructed line of sight between an intended observer and a subject of interest. So, for example, in this view from Windmill Hill, there is a visual connection between Windmill Hill, Silbury Hill, and the West Kennet Long Barrow seen here. All of the sites in the complex are perfectly aligned in some manner with each other. There are abundant solar and lunar markers in the Avebury landscape. Here is a winter solstice sunset seen in the landscape from the entrance of the West Kennet Long Barrow, and is framed in the entrance of the West Kennet Long Barrow as seen from inside the Long Barrow on the winter solstice, when light streams through to special stones waiting at the end of the chamber. The East Kennet Long Barrow is also framed by the entrance of the West Kennet Long Barrow. Peter Knight provided this diagram of the sacred geometry he found contained within the Long Barrow's chamber configuration. There are also abundant astronomical markers inside the Long Barrow in the chambers within. From within the West Kennet Long Barrow, there are places where you can see things at certain times, like the equinox moonrise and the Pleiades. The Avebury complex is believed to be around 5,500 years old. The Watson Break lunar mounds near Monroe, Louisiana are contemporaneous with Avebury. They are believed to be 5,400 years old and are considered the oldest earthwork mound complex in North America. The Watson Break mounds are located on privately owned land and are not available for public viewing. Howard Crowhurst has been studying the megalithic alignments at Carnac in Brittany in France for many years, and he has been able to detail the geometric and archaeoastronomical layout of the sites around this part of Brittany. This is a lead-in to say that this practice of precise geometric alignments did not just happen at certain places at certain times. It occurred worldwide from ancient times until relatively modern times. This is the Manhattan Bridge in Brooklyn, New York. The Empire State Building is perfectly framed by the Bridge Foundation. And the Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Arch in Hartford, Connecticut's Bushnell Park framing what is now utilized as an apartment building. I will provide compelling physical evidence for why I believe humanity was on a completely different, advanced, positive timeline until relatively recently, and that this timeline was hijacked. Everything we believed to be true was grafted onto the original timeline, and infrastructure falsely attributed or named. First, let's take a look at the deeper meanings of archways, which play an important role in the alignment process. Initiation and ceremonies of renewal, sloughing off the old and moving into a new phase of life. They are structures with deep resonance. They are structurally crucial elements capable of spanning great distances while supporting substantial weight. And they are thought of as a gateway or threshold, a means of passing from one plane, figuratively or literally, to another. I'm going to begin with so-called natural arches and openings showing some form of solar or lunar alignment going on. This is Keyhole Rock at Pfeiffer Beach at Big Sur in California. The light comes through the Keyhole Arch perfectly during the winter solstice time of year in December and January. Monument Rock's National Natural Landmark, otherwise known as the Chalk Pyramids, in Gove County, Kansas. This is Mesa Arch in Canyonlands National Park in Utah. And Durdle Door near Lulworth, England in Dorset during the winter solstice period. It is on what is called the Jurassic Coast and called a natural limestone formation. Next are what are called natural arches or openings that perfectly frame other features. This is at Arches National Park in Utah, where we are told there are over 2,000 natural stone arches. What is called the False Kiva in a remote part of Canyonlands National Park in Utah, where there is also a stone circle. At the Garden of the Gods in Colorado, Amaru Muru in Peru, Hole in the Wall at Rialto Beach on Washington State's Olympic National Park, Monument Rocks in Kansas, and Double Arch Trail in Kentucky. Here are two more places that I am not sure where the photos were taken. These examples are what I would consider ancient infrastructure, placed precisely a certain way in the landscape for the alignment of heaven and earth, and are not the result of natural and random processes, as we have been led to believe. This represents an intentional terraforming of the earth from ancient times by master builders to create harmony, beauty, and balance based on geometric and astronomical principles. I am going to segue into the symmetry and proportion of the world's architecture by starting with the Catalan Atlas of the Mallorcan Cartographic School for Information. The Catalan Atlas is considered the most important map of the medieval period in the Catalan language, dated to 1375. It is attributed to master mapmaker Crescus Abraham. The Catalan Atlas altogether has 6 vellum leaves, each being 26 inches or 65 centimeters by 20 inches or 50 centimeters in size. Each leaf includes the mapping of the geometric lines and shapes you see depicted here. I placed a modern map of Spain on the left when I was doing research for circle alignments on the planet Washington, D.C., Part 13, Madrid, Spain to Albacete, Spain, with the city of Gijón circled, because the circle with 16 sections depicted in the Catalan Atlas on the right appears to center on the city of Gijón. It indicates a past importance to Gijón that is no longer recognized. I, for one, had never heard of Gijón before. The Catalan Atlas is significant for at least 2 reasons that I can think of off the top of my head. First, it indicates an awareness of precise planetary alignments and grid lines that has been suppressed, and this knowledge was also lost to modern humanity. Second, there was an importance to Majorca and this part of the world that has been lost to modern humanity. There was something very special about what is now called Spain and France. Today, Majorca is one of Spain's Balearic Islands in the Mediterranean Sea, and is what is referenced when you look up information about Majorca. Yet this is the palace of the kings of Majorca in Perpignan in southern France, so I know there is more to the story of Majorca, like the alignments missing from the history books. I will organize by country the sample of examples I have found around the world of symmetry, proportion, and alignment in architecture. In Spain, the Universidad Laboral de Gijón. In Seville, and the Alhambra in Granada. In England, Oxford University. Eastwell Manor. The Tower Bridge in London. And the Elizabeth Tower at the Palace of Westminster, the Parliament building in London. In France, the Eiffel Tower in Paris. And through the Eiffel Tower's archway, the École Militaire. In Germany, Landshut in Bavaria. In Hungary, at the Fisherman's Bastion in Budapest, where you can see the Hungarian Parliament building framed perfectly through the archways. In various ways. In Italy, you see St. Peter's Basilica at Vatican City through this archway. And this is at the Villa Aceta on the Ulysses Riviera between Rome and Naples. In Ethiopia, at the Debre Libanos Monastery. And in Jordan, at Petra, an ancient city carved right into the rock. In Iran, at the Blue Mosque in Isfahan. In the United Arab Emirates, at the Sheikh Zayed Grand Mosque in Abu Dhabi. In Oman, at the Sultan Qaboos Grand Mosque in Muscat. In India, the Taj Mahal in Agra. The Sardar Market in Jodhpur. The Qutb Minar at the Qutb Minar Complex in Delhi, India. And the Iron Pillar of Delhi at the same complex. It is famous for the rust-resistant composition of metals used in its construction. It is said to have been made 1600 years ago. In the country of Georgia, at the Matsa Meda Monastery near Kutaisi. And in Chechnya, the Akhmad Kadyrov Mosque in the capital city of Grozny. In China, at the Summer Palace in Beijing. And in Indonesia, at the Baitur Rahman Grand Mosque in Banda Aceh. Off the coast of Brazil, the Morro do Pico, as seen from the arch at the Fort Santo Antonio on the island of Fernando de Noronha. And in Mexico, the Hospicio Cabañas in Guadalajara. In the United States, the Memorial Church at Sanford University in California. In Louisiana, the Jefferson Memorial and the old Jefferson Parish Courthouse in Gretna. And in Florida, at Rollins College in Winter Park. I don't know where this picture was taken, but there certainly appears to be a solar alignment occurring in the center of these arches. The ancient advanced Moorish civilization that is missing from our collective awareness was all about harmony, balance, beauty, sacred geometry, and unity with each other and the universe, and connecting with one's higher self, source, universal self, whatever word you choose. It was all about aligning heaven and earth in the fullest expression of human potential that there has ever been here on earth. I will leave you with this picture of what happens at the temple of Angkor Wat in Cambodia on the equinox, the time of year when the sun crosses the plane of the Earth's equator and day and night are of equal length.